Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation. It's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth. Society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
My people, what's happening? It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. For those in the United States, I hope you are having a happy 4th of July weekend. For those outside of the United States, I hope that you are having a happy 4th of July weekend. What's up, Thomas? What do you say? Good. Hey, Gabriel, nice to see you, buddy. Spiky, my man. Good. The gang's all here. Hey, Damon, what's up? Yes, black metal. It's going down today. 100%. I feel like it's been a long time since we've done a show. You know, it's like one of those rare week and a half, but it's good once in a while. Like when I get off for a week and a half, like sometimes when it's, you know, Sunday, Wednesday, it's so what up, Chris? Gregor in Scotland, my man. Yep. That's right. Black metal and cats on a nice summer day. You know what we want to talk about? Rich Zoller, my man. What do you say? You know what we should chop it up about? Let's bring up, we want to talk about a couple interesting things happen before we bring our guest on. The big Black Sabbath final thing happened and the Oasis thing happened. So first off, let's bring on the hardcore shutterbug. Steven,
what's up?
Steven Messina. Messina. Amoeba. Messina.
Well, what's going on? Yes, has it been a week and a half? It has, right?
It's been a week and a half.
Yeah.
The last show we did was Jay Bayway, and it's like,
oh wow,
it feels like it was a long time ago, But it's good. I need a break once in a while,
You deserve a break today.
I deserve a break to just be tormented by other elements of my life, Yep. So that said, Rich said, so you guys played last night?
Yeah, we did. We debuted the Sling Blades first show last night out in Bar Frida in Ridgewood, and thank Rich Zoller for coming out. Actually, there we are. It was great. It was, it's a small, loud room, but we wanted to get one in before the big show with Incendiary Device and Stigma at Mother Pugs. I kind of wanted to get a little practice bout in there,
Yeah. We're playing together on Saturday, July 19th. That's a week. Is that a week? No. It's coming up.
Soon. It's 11 days, something like that.
So it's a week from Saturday.
Yes.
Wow.
And playing with the Idiot Box and Mutant and the Blame. I love that Blame song you used in your movie, The Streets of New York.
Yo, that kid's a good songwriter.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah,
that's a great song. But
isn't in your band, the Sling Blades, the drummer is the kid we had on the show here?
That is correct. That is John Gusman.
John Gusman. Excuse me, we've had 400 guests on the show. I get a little confused sometimes.
The guy that was on the show.
Yeah.
That is John Gusman, who's Rule Them All, Truck Fighters, The Fight, Jack Chicks. He's been in many, many bands, and he's just been a fantastic addition to the band. And
and looking forward to Stigma's doing a set of the New York Blood stuff. Yeah, it's not his country stuff. It's not the country stuff. So there you go.
There won't be any Twinkle Twinkle Little Star at this show.
So that said, before we kind of get into it, I want to bring on somebody else. He is a frequent flyer on the show, occasional co-host. I'm talking about Joel Gausten, and of course, we're bringing him on as he is a friend of Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. So let's bring Joel on. Hey, buddy.
Hey,
There
good
he is.
afternoon, Drew. Good afternoon, Stephen.
How are you, Joe?
Good, good. Hello to everyone in the chat.
So, Joe, let's start with this. I know you and Bill Ward go back a ways, and you consider him a personal friend. What are your feelings? How do you like watching the stuff yesterday? Thoughts?
Well, I'm still recovering from it. It was a very emotional day for a number of reasons. I watched the entire 10-hour live stream. I didn't think I was going to, but I couldn't take a break from it. It was just a fantastic day and a wonderful farewell to the greatest heavy metal band in history. And of course, it was wonderful just to see Bill.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's just. I'm not playing the sound, but that's
Nice.
That's just the visual from yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, how amazing is it that all four of them in 2025 physically were able to do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, there were some challenges that we can clearly see, but
Yeah.
my God, to be of that age and have that history and still be able to do it. I mean, we're all very fortunate to witness this.
I kind of look at it like in this day and age, it felt like a retirement, like send-off party, for like a chance to one last time to see everybody. And that's,
Yeah.
I just felt like that's kind of why all those bands were on it. It was like it was almost like a homecoming, like a high school reunion type of thing. And, one last time. And,
Well,
I'm beyond, me, I'm always like, I believe in celebrating music, and a lot of bands out there, Leonard Skinner doesn't have any original guys, and Foreigner and this and that and Chroma. I'm all for the celebration of the music. To me, that's first and foremost. And I'll chalk yesterday up to it was a celebration of the music.
Absolutely.
Also, significantly, it was also a charity for Birmingham Children's Hospitals, hospices, Parkinson's research, which of course is significant to Oz at this point. So, they all walked away having raised millions of dollars for those charities. Also, what was significant for those who watched the live stream, if you noticed between the bands, they were showing obviously people who had submitted 15-second tributes to Sabbath and Ozzy, but they were talking to people in like the pubs in Birmingham and showing the local tattoo parlor and things like that. So it was also a celebration of the culture that birthed Black Sabbath, because I think the culture and the sound go hand in hand.
Sure.
It was always working class music. It was also post-war music.
100%.
If I could wax philosophic very quickly here, the reason why I've known Bill for decades now, and the reason why I have such an affinity for him, one of many reasons, is because he's the same age as my father. My father grew up in England in the same area that Bill did. So we're talking post-war England, where as children, these guys were walking around streets with huge craters from bombs and burned out buildings, and times were very tough. So what Sabbath did was they gave a voice to those streets. The same way New York hardcore gave a voice to the fucking Bowery. It's the same thing. So to see Bill and the other guys in the original Sabbath play at an arena in Birmingham, a walk down the street from where they grew up in those bombed out buildings 60 years earlier, as a first generation child of an immigrant from England who grew up in those streets, I just want to say to Bill and the Sabs, well fucking done, well fucking done.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Birmingham. It reminded me of and sort of product of their environment. It reminded me of like Sheffield, which was another kind of, and we'll ask our guest about this kind of stuff today. But Sheffield, Joe Cocker, Def Leppard, sort of products of growing up in that environment as well. So, yeah.
And one thing I'll say about Bill is when you meet him and you talk to him, you're not talking to Bill Ward, drummer of the world famous Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to Billy from the streets of Birmingham.
Sure.
That is the line in the sand, so to speak, as far as the culture of this music. You know, people from that part of England, you know, don't take themselves terribly seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still men of the streets. And that's why I think this show was so successful, because I don't think the majority of Sabbath, not all of them, ever kind of forgot that. And that's why it's so cool that there's children's hospitals in Birmingham now who have millions of fucking dollars because of a heavy metal show. I mean, you know, what's more metal than that? Come on.
It was a celebration of the music. I mean, I thought I saw Steven Tyler, and I thought that was pretty good. I mean, I was sort of surprised to see Steven Tyler because I thought he had like a career-ending injury. I don't think they said he was never going to sing again, and he was kind of up there busting it out. And you know, there's a lot of the usual suspects up there. It was cool, you know.
Yeah.
The other thing, interestingly enough, that happened this weekend was the Oasis shows, kind of not too far away. I mean, interestingly enough, these two big landmark events happened back to back.
Yeah.
And you know, I happen to. I mean, it's no secret. You know, I really like Oasis. I'm looking forward to seeing them when they come here. I'm excited about that. I thought they sounded and looked great. So good stuff. Go ahead, Stephen.
A couple of days before Oasis, in fact, a third thing was Iron Maiden played their biggest non-festival headlining show ever in London. They played to over 100,000 people. Just them, just like it was just one of their shows, and it was immense. And that was about like 3 days before the Oasis show. So that was just like a really, really special week for music. You know, especially, you know, English music, really.
You know, it's funny. It's like people get wigged out when I bring up Oasis. You know, like a lot of like, but it's interesting. But for me, I never really paid attention to Oasis till fairly recently. So for me, it's like I discovered their catalog and discovered the band, and you know, kind of. So for them to be doing a reunion and I could see them play is rather exciting. So anyway,
great timing. You know, you get to go back through the catalog too, which is fun.
Yeah. Joel, aren't we co-hosting a show together?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Speaking of metal.
Yeah. And I'm glad I reached out because I know you're a big fan and very knowledgeable of this band.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, if we consider Black Sabbath the template of metal, you know, it kind of goes in three stages for me. One, Sabbath being the foundation, and then you have the bands like today's guest, you know, Venom. They stepped it up a notch, and then in 1990, Deicide brought it even further, as far as, you know, the intensity and just the sheer rebelliousness of the music. I think the first two Deicide records are absolutely essential to the history of heavy metal. Just the most intense thing in the world when I was that age, hearing that music. So, yeah, I'm very excited to talk to Steve and dive into that history.
Good, and I'm glad you're like my color commentator. Like I could reach out, like, you know, I know you know their catalog. So,
oh hell yeah,
and yeah, I noticed that too, Joseph. That Jake E. Lee was doing some Ozzy stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I gotta check out that footage. Let's get the ball rolling. You know, Stephen, Joel, thanks, and you know, we'll see you guys soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
All
Talk to you in a
right.
bit. That's right. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. Lots to talk. Oh, you know, somebody mentioned that, you know, also what was going on, and I didn't bring this up. I didn't want to muck it up. But ELO played their last show in the UK the other night. I talked to someone about that this morning. ELO's last ever show. So there you go. But as if you already didn't know, this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, Women That Pit, Candle Witch Co., and Mad Vintage. They buy, sell, and collect band shirts, primarily hardcore. The DIY operation was started and is operated by a hardcore kid who just loves collecting and eventually got into the realm of vintage clothing, specifically vintage band shirts. They're always looking to buy out collections to either keep, sell, or trade. New shirts added daily at www.madvintage.com and posted on Instagram. Dig deep into that closet of crap and reach out to them. Help me help you, Mad Vintage. That said, let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest on. Let's make sure nobody's killing each other in the chat room. Geez, you guys are drowning me. King Diamond played, the Deftones. Damn, you were busy, huh? Would you see Oasis and ELO? All right, that said, let's clear the deck. Let's get down to brass tacks here, huh? Enough already. Today's guest is an English guitarist and passionate cat lover hailing from Newcastle upon Tyne. He is known for his work with the bands Empire of Evil, Venom Inc, Mantas, and of course, the incredibly influential black metal band Venom. Please welcome, coming at us from the glorious country of Portugal, Mr. Jeffrey Mantas Dunn. Hey, man. Can you hear me?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Still alive and kicking, so there you go.
How's things in Portugal?
Hot. Very. Can I swear? It's very hot. We've been hitting low 40s. We had a mid 40s last week. It's been a little bit warm, let's put it that way. So it's everything's just dry and crispy, and we're into the fire season now. And I've
never been to Portugal. I'm assuming it's hot, but is it humid hot? Is it desert hot? Like what kind of heat is it?
It's not really humid, I wouldn't say. Every now and again you do get some humidity, but it's that sort of really hot heat, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
It's that, So like I say, we're in fire season now, and only this afternoon we had 2 fire aircraft going over the top of us to go to a incident a little bit further up north. I think there's 110 firefighting vehicles at the moment up there, so, and 6 aircraft. So I mean, we've had some horrendous fires over here, but it's par for the course, I'm afraid.
Sure. Just ask LA, right? It's like
yeah.
That was tough. So let's get down to it. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
There was always music in the house. My father was a drummer, and he was a drummer in the military as well. And he was in a regiment which was called the Tyneside Scottish, and he was a drummer in that band. And he was into the big band and swing era, all that kind of stuff, all the Glenn Miller things and all that. So there was always music playing. And, me and my father would sit and listen to the sort of top 20 every Sunday evening and sit there with my fingers on the play record button of the cassette recorder and try and record your favorite song off the radio.
Sure.
I think he was a little bit of a closet Slade fan as well, because I was into Slade, and he bought me a Slade album. I think, which one was it? It was the album Slade, Slayed. I got that for Christmas when I was a kid, I remember. But the first album I ever bought, vinyl, with my own allowance money, was Ride a White Swan, T-Rex. And I was always fascinated with guitar-driven bands. So any band that had a guitar in, I wanted to know about them, So it went from T-Rex to Slade.
Here I think I got it. Is it this one?
That's the one. That's Slade. Yeah. That's the album. Yeah. So it went from T-Rex to Slade, The Sweet, So it was, my musical growing up was kind of in the 70s, I suppose, during the glam era. And then Alice Cooper hit the UK shows with Schools Out.
Sure.
And then the next thing was, for me, was when I bought the single Seven Seas of Rye by Queen. And I think that was probably the first time I dipped my toe into real heavy rock, if you like.
Is that the first music that you felt was yours? Like Glenn Miller's Me and My Dad, but this speaks to me. This is mine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I say, always anything with a guitar. Anything with a guitar. I was fascinated by it, absolutely fascinated by it. So, you know, it sounds a cliched thing to say, but it's absolutely true. But it was like a journey. It was looking for the next thing. What's heavier than that? What's heavier than that? What's heavier than that?
Right.
And, you know, there was bands I'd heard of, but couldn't get a hold of their albums and things. And then one day I was in a huge department store with my mom. And she went off to do something where in this department store, you had this loyalty scheme where you got these dividend stamps or whatever they were. She went off to redeem some of these stamps for vouchers or something. And I was left in the vinyl section. And this store, it sold everything. If it didn't sell it, it didn't exist. It was one of those places. It was a massive building, over 3 levels. And so I was just going through the vinyls. And I pulled this vinyl out and I seen these things on the front of this vinyl. I was like, wow. And it was a double album. And I rooted through the pockets and I didn't have enough money to get it. I was like, oh. So I put that one back and behind it was another album. The first album I had picked up was Kiss Alive.
Ooh.
The one behind it was Hotter Than Hell. And I had enough money to get that. And that was it. That was it for me. But the big life-changing moment for me was, I think it was May 24th or the 28th, 1979, Newcastle City Hall, when I went to see Judas Priest.
Wow.
Killing Machine tour, and that was it. The moment KK Down and ran on stage, and I seen that guy, I just went, I want to do that. That was it. That was my defining moment.
Kiss comes up a lot on this show. It's Kiss being sort of the gateway drug, the gateway band that inspired so many young people and inspired so many guitar players to pick up the guitar. Just Ace Frehley's guitar work seemed very attainable to young people. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can, you know, if I listen to the early Venom stuff, what I hear now, when I listen to something me playing, and since, you know, putting ideas down for the book that I've been doing for God knows how many years now, but I owe a lot subconsciously to Ace Frehley and Fast Eddie Clarke from Motorhead. You know, because of that rhythm, especially the rhythm playing of Fast Eddie.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, when you hear a Motorhead song, it's not necessarily, you know, the early stuff, it's not necessarily crisp, tight riffs. It's that bang down, down. And there was a lot of that in early Venom stuff, you know. And the album Overkill probably had more effect on my songwriting than I gave it credit for, to be brutally honest. You know,
it's interesting.
Ace Frehley, definitely. You know,
it's interesting how years later you have the perspective. You could look back on your work, on your art, and sort of you realize that certain things in our environment really peripherally really influenced it. You don't realize it at the time, but when you have a couple years later, you look back and you go, wow, yeah, of course, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
did you grow up? Were you in Newcastle? Did you grow up in Newcastle?
Oh yeah, Newcastle, born and bred. Yeah. Right in Newcastle. Yeah, in the heart of it. Yeah. Yeah.
And Newcastle was a really vibrant music place. I mean, didn't Motorhead record No Sleep Till Hammersmith in Newcastle?
No, we had in Hammersmith Odeon was in London. We had Newcastle City Hall, and we had the Mayfair Rock Club.
I'm sorry. Right, City Hall was the main venue. Right.
that was the main venue, and then we had the Mayfair, the rock club as well, and every band on the planet played the Mayfair. I mean, I seen AC/DC with Bon Scott at the Mayfair, and Led Zeppelin played the Mayfair. The Mayfair, actually, as a point of interest, it opened its doors around about April, May, June, July, August, 5 months after I was born in 1961. That's when the Mayfair opened its doors to the public. It's now a fancy fucking wine bar or something. I mean, it was a glorious old club, it was big as well. I seen God knows how. I mean, Bon Jovi played there when they were just doing the rounds. Everybody played the Mayfair. Priest played the Mayfair, everybody. In fact, I remember seeing Priest at the Mayfair on a Friday night and at Priest at the Mayfair on the Saturday night at the Newcastle City Hall.
Paul Stone
so
says,
the Newcastle City Hall as well, that was a regular stop-off for all the bands who were touring up and down the UK.
Paul says, No Sleep Till Hammersmith was 95% recorded at City Hall. One song's from Leeds. So, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that's right. Metallica played the Mayfair in 86. That's right.
That's right, yeah. Well, Blackfoot, they recorded their live album at the Mayfair, Highway Song. I was actually there that night when they recorded it.
Where is... Oh, here we go. This is cool. This is 1980, City Hall, and it's Thin Lizzy.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what it is? There's only two bands that I've never seen that I regret not seeing, and that's Thin Lizzy and Motorhead.
Wow.
Yeah, never got to see those two bands. No.
Wow.
Yeah, I seen Van Halen when they did their first headline tour at Newcastle City Hall, though.
Yeah, I would like to have seen Thin Lizzy. Yeah.
Mm.
I saw Motorhead with Brian Robertson playing guitar. That was pretty great, I thought, at the time.
I think that for me was the classic. I mean, Gary Moore is my all-time favorite guitarist. I would listen to him above everybody else. But the classic lineup of Thin Lizzy has got to be Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
So we talked about your insatiable appetite for guitar players. Like, who inspired you to pick up the guitar, and how did you get your first guitar? What was it?
My first guitar was a cherry red single humbucker SG copy. I don't know what brand it was or anything. It was bought from a shop in Newcastle called Jevons, which was a family music store.
Sure.
And my mother actually financed that, and I think I had a 10-watt Fender Champ little combo.
Sure.
And then my first dive into distortion was a horrible big blue fuzz pedal by a company called CSL. And I suppose being inspired to play, it was just everybody I was seeing at the time. But I remember it was either 78 or 79. There was a program on TV on a Friday evening, and it was called Rock Goes to College. It had a second title, which was Sight and Sound in Concert. And this particular night, I'd never heard of them, but I just knew the guy who was with them played guitar. And I asked my father if I could watch this program this night. And he was like, yeah. So we found the channel, put it on. And the band was Colosseum 2 with John Heisman, Don Airey, and Gary Moore on guitar.
Oh, there you
Very
go.
young Gary Moore. And it was all instrumental stuff that they were doing. And I was absolutely blown away by that, but it was everything. I mean, I remember getting even Johnny Winter albums. I would go and search out stuff like that. Like I say, it was anybody at that point, but the guy that I collected everything by was obviously Gary Moore. He became I've got a lot of favorite guitarists. Frank Marino is one of them. I think he's
Mahogany Rush.
Mahogany Rush. He's fucking outstanding.
I've pointed out Frank Marino a couple of times. he's one of these guys that's kind of been lost in the shifting sands of time. He was a huge, beloved figure in the like 70s, maybe early 80s. Pat Travers is another guy. But Frank Marino here in the States, people that loved Frank Marino loved Frank Marino. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I ever heard him was when I bought Mahogany Rush Live.
Oh, that record smokes,
I was
man.
absolutely hooked after that. Have you seen the? I think it's the actual footage of that concert is up on YouTube. It's a concert from '76 or something. It's 70s, and Marino on that concert is just unbelievable.
I've seen that stuff. I did a deep dive, a rediscovery dive on Frank Marino recently, and and like I said, that kind of brought me back to Pat Travers, and then somebody else brought up Rory Gallagher. Peripheral, but I've always been a Rory Gallagher fan. He was fantastic.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see Rory Gallagher at this Newcastle City Hall.
There you go.
So, and I mean, there was one night I was at the Mayfair. We used to go to the Mayfair regardless of who was playing. As long as it was a rock band or a metal band, we were there. We didn't care who it was. And I remember going out one night. I went to the Mayfair. I walked in, and there was a three-piece band on stage. Didn't take any notice. There was a guitarist, bass player, drummer, and then they kicked into Whiskey in the Jar. I was like, who the fuck are these? And it was the Eric Bell trio. I had no clue.
Wow.
Yeah, I had no clue who it was. But, like I say, everybody played Newcastle at one point. In the 80s, it was like, if you didn't play Newcastle, there was something wrong with you. It was one of them places. And back then as well, when we came around with Neat Records and all that kind of stuff, it was, to quote Kiss, it was Newcastle Rock City. That's what it was. Every Saturday afternoon, it was just full of rock and metal kids all over the place. We had the place called the Handyside Arcade, where everybody used to hang out. The Card Bar, which was a huge, big poster and badges and patches and T-shirt emporium. It was a great time. It was a great time back then.
This sounds like an incredibly vibrant environment to be in musically in those days. What was your first band? Was it Guillotine? Was that first, or what was sort of the timeline that led to Guillotine, which of course eventually leads into Venom?
There was no such band as Guillotine. No such band. This has been mentioned a lot. And all I can say is Guillotine was an idea that I had in my head for a band when I was very young, but it never came to fruition. And that has never been perpetrated by me. Let's put it that
strange.
way.
That's strange because it's if you do research, doing my homework for the show, into your career, this Guillotine comes up all over the place.
Yeah, that's a figment of someone else's imagination. Let's put it that way. Certainly wasn't me. Yeah. It was an idea that was there, but the band was never called Guillotine. The band never had a logo for Guillotine. The first and only name we had was Venom. That was it.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting. Was there like my first band, or was literally your first band Venom?
Yeah. When it eventually came together, yeah. I mean, it went through various lineup changes. We were a 5-piece at one point.
That's right.
We had a vocalist. There was myself on guitar. There was a guy called Dave Rutherford on guitar. I cannot remember for the life of me the bass player's name, but prior to him, I had a bass player called Dean Hewitt. And there was a drummer before Abaddon. But then when they all sort of drifted away, I think it was because I was wanting to get heavier and heavier and just make a noise, basically, But as a 5-piece without Abaddon, the first song we ever jammed out was Hotel California. We all went away and learned it and came into the rehearsal place. And it was like, well, I don't really want to be doing this, like, but, and then I put an advert in a music store they're actually called Rock City, for a drummer. You know, we used to have those boards where you could put a piece of paper up with a telephone number on the bottom, all that, you know. So I put an advert up, and there was 2 people answered it, and one of them was Abaddon, Tony Bray. So he was the one I met first, and we got on really well. We seemed to, you know, get along. So I did a runner before the other guy turned up, and that was it, you know. So, and then after that,
and then sort of, and Clive Archer was in the band already.
He came along with Abaddon.
Right.
I remember we had a meeting in a bar in Newcastle called the Percy Arms, which was like a rock bar, biker bar type of thing. And along with Abaddon came Eric Cook, who became our manager, and Clive Archer, who became the singer. And then the next person to go after that was Dave Rutherford. He left.
The second guitar
so
player.
we needed another. Yeah, we needed another rhythm guitarist, and then my girlfriend, her best friend, we used to go around to her house one evening every week when our parents used to go out. And, you know, there was a few of us would just gather in the house and sit and drink and, you know, listen to metal or whatever. And this night that I went in, she introduced me to this guy who was her new boyfriend. And it was Conrad. It was Cronos. So we had a chat, discovered that, you know, both into music. He played guitar. And I said, well, I'm looking for a guitar player. If you want to come along and see the band on Saturday afternoon where we rehearse. He came along. He took over guitar. And then the bass player left, because I don't think the bass player's girlfriend liked what we used to do. So he left. And sort of Conrad took over bass. And that was it. That's how it sort of whittled its way down to a 4-piece with Clive Archer. And then Clive was the last one to leave.
Any memories? Any memories or perspective of Clive Archer? It kind of seemed here he was a bit on the cutting edge, as we could see here, but, you know, wearing face paint and pretty early on in the game. Any memories you could glean on us on Clive Archer, first singer?
I liked Clive a lot. I mean, the first time I met him, we got on like a house on fire, because he walked in and he had this pair of sort of flared jeans on, and embroidered down one leg it said "The Ripper." You know, a huge Judas Priest fan. So, you know, that was a bit of an affinity there straight away. And then, you know, he was so enthusiastic about it, and it's a bit. I don't know whether it was the direction we were taking it in or what, but it's sort of he just sort of drifted away. But yeah, I mean, he was wearing all that paint, and that wasn't theatrical makeup either. That was actual just whitewash, like paint types. And then we used to dry it with a hairdryer and make him crack it all, and then just pour blood into it, you know. So, but even back then, I was thinking like, oh well, do we necessarily need the makeup thing? Because, you know, Kiss have done it, Alice Cooper does it, but you know, years later, look what happens, you know. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when he left, I remember I asked Cronos to sing. Well, before Clive left, actually, I asked Cronos to sing a song that I had written called "Live Like an Angel, Die Like a Devil," and the idea was that Clive would go off stage and do a costume change. Conrad or Cronos would sing this song, and then Clive would come back on with a costume change for the song Schizo. But obviously, you know, that never happened. But Conrad just took over vocals. Everything was by default. There was no master plan. There was nothing going on there.
The first the demo, the Demon demo, was this Cronos or Clive singing on this?
God, you know what it is? It's probably.
Hold on.
I would have.
Hold on.
You know what it is?
Hey, you know how easy it is on this show? Hey, who sings on this demo? Is it Clive or Cronos? Stand by for the answer.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? To be brutally honest with you, I've never heard that cassette. I wouldn't listen
Is that right?
to it. Yeah, I've never heard it. Yeah. I mean, there is early demos with Clive singing on.
Yeah.
There's the Church Hall tapes with Clive singing on, where I took a cassette recorder in and a cassette and just recorded the rehearsal. There's that one.
It's Clive, apparently.
Yeah. I would have said, you know, if somebody put a gun to my head, I would have said it was Clive, like, but I've never really listened to it.
Yeah. Hey, Gabriel asks, the names were bloody brilliant. What was the impetus to sort of let's create stage names, and how did that what was the process there?
It was basically because, you know, we had these elaborate ideas, none of them that we could afford, by the way. But,
Right.
we had all this, you know, all this bullshit and bluster going on in the background behind us, and all this imagery and perception, let's put it that way. And it was basically a thought that, you know, if we're going to go out there, you know, leather and studs and pyros and all this kind of stuff, and have this satanic image and, you know, pentagrams all over the place, you know, do you necessarily want to be called Jeffrey Dunn and, you know, Conrad Lant? And, you know, so that then the name changes happened, you know. It was just an addition to the image, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
And again, you know, you've got to look at what followed us. You know, everybody started doing it.
Sure. That makes sense. So wasn't Cronos an engineer in the recording studio? Was that a bit of a connection you guys had? Didn't he work in a record? No?
He wasn't an engineer. No. I've had this conversation so many times.
Why? There's a lot of misinformation out there, huh?
There's a lot of misinformation. In those days, back in those days, the UK government had a thing called a Youth Opportunity Scheme. It was commonly known as a yacht scheme, right? Huh. And what it was part of the government's plan to get the young people off unemployment benefit by offering incentives to companies to take a young person on and give them some kind of job or training. But all this about engineering and stuff like that, no. He was about 16 or 17 at the time, you know. And I mean, it's like, no, I've just been through all this, and it's, you know, the stuff I read was just like, my God, what dimension do you live in?
Sure.
And you know, there's an internet site, I can't remember what it is now, but there's a guy called Steve Thompson who was actually an engineer at Impulse Neat Records. And he put a piece up, and you know, he just debunked everything. You know, I read this piece and I just went, well, you know, somebody's actually spoke the truth, because Steve Thompson was there all the time. Sure. He was the in-house engineer producer, and he's written songs for famous artists, all kinds of stuff. So no, there is a lot of misinformation out there now, you know, and I don't understand why people have got to, I don't know, validate their position all the time by saying these things. It's like, I just don't get it, you know.
The downside of the internet. Oh
God, yeah. But even, you know, when it comes down to the band members, it's like each one of us were part of something which, you know, essentially changed heavy metal. Whether people agree with that or not, whether they like it or not, or whatever. And, you know, the raging debate did Venom create black metal? It's like, right, answer me this question. If we didn't create it, what the hell would it be called?
Mm.
We had an album called Black Metal. We had a song called Black Metal, and yes, we were the originators. Probably it isn't like what it was back then. It's not. It's far evolved, but
Sure.
without evolution comes extinction. So it's evolved to what it is today, and it's saturated. It's absolutely saturated. But the good thing about it is that it's alive and kicking.
Yeah. In those early, once the lineup settled down, the three-piece lineup, who were your peers when you were really playing the circuit? In the early '80s, who were the bands that you crossed paths with, or did you have any peers?
Not really. No, we sort of disengaged ourselves from everybody. I mean, the whole We Are Black Metal came around as a way to alienate and individualize the band, because it was at the time of the new wave of British heavy metal, and we didn't feel a part of that. We thought we don't really have anything in common with this. And then I remember being interviewed one day, and there was a copy of Kerrang on this coffee table in the room where we were being interviewed, and they were asking about heavy metal, hard rock, all this kind of stuff, and Bon Jovi was on the front cover. And I remember we said, if this is what you class as heavy metal, if every band who's got long hair and a guitar is heavy metal, then we've got nothing in common with that.
Sure.
And press being press. Okay, then what are you? And that's when we just said we're black metal, And it was it was as simple as, tearing the two phrases apart. It was black magic and heavy metal, black metal. That's what it was. And the album had side black and side metal. And
right.
it like I say, it evolved from there. But peers wise, we did really alienate ourselves from the mainstream and from the other bands, I suppose. I mean, I know for a fact that we were not liked at Neat Records by the other bands.
Sure.
And I've since spoke to a couple of them, and I had a really good conversation with Mark Gallagher out of Raven. We were playing the same festival. I had Empire, and Raven turned up. They were playing the next day, and me and Mark, we had never really had a conversation, even at the time of being at Neat Records. And Mark actually said to me, "What was all this beef between Raven and Venom?" I was like, "I have no clue, mate." I says, "I have no idea." I says, "I don't know where the hell that came from." But then Mark said, he says, "I can tell you this much: all the other bands were looking at you guys and going, how the fuck are they doing that?" And the reason they were saying that as well, and rightly so, is because every single band on Neat Records were far superior musicians, and they were far harder working bands. They were the back of the van, up and down the country type bands,
Sure.
and we weren't. And our first tour was major cities in Europe, and then when we played in England, it was Hammersmith Odeon. And all these bands were like, "What the fuck? How?
How'd that happen?"
Yeah, it was a what the fuck moment. It was like, I don't know how these guys are doing that.
So some of those other bands that were like those kind of meat and potato bands, would that be like Blitzkrieg, Tigers of Pantang?
Yeah.
Like Raven, yeah, like Raven, right?
Oh
yeah,
Raven. Yeah, they were hard work. I mean, the Tigers of Pantang. There's a coastal town called Whitley Bay, and me and my girlfriend, and I think it was Tony Bray and his girlfriend, we used to go to this little nightclub down there in this coastal town every Wednesday evening. It was called Mingles, and the Tigers had a residency. They were the resident band. Every Wednesday night, the Tigers of Pantang were playing. Yeah, they were stuck in the corner of the bar, but they were there every Wednesday night. They were playing.
Wood shedding, What you mentioned Neat. How did that come about? Was that were you excited to I'm assuming to formally sign with them? Was that an exciting moment to sort of sign? Yeah, I didn't think so. Go ahead. go ahead.
There was never a recording contract with Neat Records.
Yeah.
We never signed anything. We signed a publishing deal with Neat Records, stupidly, but we never had a recording deal with Neat Records. That whole thing, it came about by me meeting Cronos, and Cronos saying that he was at Impulse Studios, which was Neat Records. And, you know, my ears then pricking up going, oh, recording studio. And previous to that, I had actually been to Neat Records with an older bass player that I was sort of just jamming with. And we went down to ask about doing a demo and walked out with our tail between our legs because we couldn't afford it.
Oh.
And then Cronos got us some downtime in the studio when nobody wanted to go in, and we had some downtime. We had a couple of hours, so it was like, right, get yourselves in, set up quick, play it, and fuck off.
In the wee hours.
Yeah. And then
Sure.
after the first, to this day, you know, I'm convinced that David Wood, who owned Impulse and Neat Records, I am convinced that he released that first single, In League with Satan, just so it would flop and he could officially tell us to fuck off, you know? It was like, you know, he would press up about 1,000 copies, you know. He probably expected to have 999 left in the warehouse.
Sure.
And say, right, there you go, you are officially shit now, on your bike. But obviously that didn't happen. And then the next time we went in to do demos, he said, have you guys got enough songs for an album? And we sort of looked and went, yeah. And in reality, we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, okay, get yourselves upstairs. You've got 3 days. And that was Welcome to Hell.
Yeah. And here's the cover. Yep. I don't know if this is more internet rubbish, but is it safe to say that Welcome to Hell initially intentionally was to be a demo, which he released as a record?
No, the original intention was we were going in on that specific day to record some more demos.
Okay.
Right. And that's when he said, have you got enough to do an album? Have you got enough songs to do an album? And yeah, we blagged it and went, yeah, we have. And there was a couple of tracks finished off in the studio. I mean, Welcome to Hell, the actual title track, was finished off in the studio. But yeah, he gave us 3 days and that was it. You know, so everything in there's one take. I mean, Welcome to Hell, to be brutally, I mean, In League with Satan and Live Like an Angel, Die Like a Devil, the first single, and Welcome to Hell, the album, they are basically my first attempt at writing songs. I hadn't written anything before those songs, not a thing.
Wow!
And that was it. That was my first attempt at writing songs. And in fact, the first song I ever wrote was Red Light Fever. Very first.
There you go. I'm assuming for a young person, it was a bit of a daunting task to kind of go in there into a recording studio with not much experience, on the clock, have to plug in, and like you said, you did everything in one take, right?
Yeah. That's all it was. It was basically recorded live, you know. Right. And I think it was maybe, you know, from what I can remember, I don't even think I double tracked the guitars at all. Right. I think it was just one take done live. I mean, we were of the attitude as well sometimes that, you know, the engineer would go, oh, well, do you want to try that again? It was like, no, let's do the next one. And that's how, you know, that's how inexperienced we were. We had no clue about guitar tone or fucking dampening drum heads or compression or EQ. Sure. It was like fucking flying blind, you know, everything up to 10, true Spinal Tap style. Fucking
and a producer was unheard of. A producer is just the guy who basically, turned the machine on, right?
Yeah, I mean, the guy who essentially engineered and produced Welcome to Hell, Keith Nichol, you know, he's since done interviews and said, you know, we were all learning at the same time.
Yeah.
You know? So he wasn't a, you know, a fully qualified studio engineer. He knew a bit, but, you know, he said we were all learning at that point, you know. So, but it was a great time, you know. It was great. And I think as well, I've said this a million times, that, you know, Welcome to Hell, it was a moment captured in time.
That's right.
And that you know, that's priceless at the end of the day. Something like that, you know. And regardless of its production values, I mean, I'm re-recording some stuff now and reimagining it, you know, 40 years later. But, you know, the original stuff has got that charm and that quality about it. And you've got to remember that it's the original stuff that got us noticed in the first place.
Yeah.
And it came at a time when, you know, everything was getting squeaky clean. You know, the Foreigners, Journeys, REO Speedwagons, all these people, AOR Rock and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just rebelled and went, nope, noise. And that was it.
Yeah. You sort of went the other way with it. And you know, I know I know there's no real answer to this. Is, you know, it's easy to say, did you realize at the time that how far-reaching and influential that this record would be? And I could almost answer it for you. Like you said, as young people going in there, one take, excited, you captured the moment.
Yeah, that was it. We captured the moment and, you know, bared our soul, threw it out there, and, you know, look what happened. Nobody expected that. Nobody expected it. You know, even Neat Records, David Woods, you know, he's probably the guy who owned the fucking record company. He's probably never even heard a Venom song. He just used to fucking send the fucking tapes off, get them pressed up, and, you know, stick them in the shops. I mean, me and Cronos, we used to go into the record stores in Newcastle and make Venom displays. You know, we used to take a few covers in and go, can we put a display up? It's one new album. Oh, yeah, you're those guys out of Venom. Yeah, you can have that bit in the corner there. So, you know, we'd go up and stick our Venom covers on the wall, you know.
Yeah.
But no, there was no magic formula. There was no, you know, if you fell into a river in the Mississippi and you come out clutching a gold nugget, nobody's going to call you a fucking genius. You know,
That's right.
Pure accident, you know. I
think I'd be amiss not to ask who kind of came up with the design, who quarterbacked the design of this initial design here.
Well, the logo, that was Abaddon.
Abaddon.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Yeah. So things start kind of moving ahead. You guys get some momentum here in New York City. What was sort of a big hoorah was when you guys came to New York and played the Paramount Theater with Metallica, which, you know, being a New Yorker, we all remember this. Any memories of this trip? Did it feel important at the time?
You know what it is? It was absolute chaos. You know, I wouldn't say we took things for granted, but we just took everything in our stride, really. I mean, there were so many things went wrong on that first night. Actually, the first night of that show, I was, was it 83? It was my 22nd birthday. The first.
Wow, you were that young.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were that young when the band started. Wow.
Yeah. So I was actually I was 20 when I walked in to record Welcome to Hell. But yeah, the 22nd of April, that was my 22nd birthday, and it was like, yeah, when we arrived at John Zazula's house, and he says, I've got these young guys coming down from the Bay Area. They're going to be a support band, you know. And we were like, oh, yeah, right, okay. And obviously Cliff was still with them at that point.
Sure.
I think Kirk had only been in the band a couple of weeks back then. You know, he hadn't been in long at all. But I remember the first night, we had two pyro guys. And this story's quite famous now.
Yeah. I know where you're going with this, and I'm going to enjoy it. So please.
Oh, right. Well, we had two pyro guys, and we had flown from England with, I think it was 3 huge flight cases, one which was full of pyrotechnics. And how the fuck we got away with it, I do not know. But we got there, and there was these wooden crates with sand in them and these metal canisters, which were, I don't know, about 10 inches high and I don't know, maybe about 5 inches in circumference. And there was 3 of these canisters in each box, and there was 6 of these boxes. So there was 18 of these canisters. And at the bottom of each canister was a little fuse. And the pyro guy would go around and put a spoonful of explosive powder in, right? So anyway, one of the guys went round, filled the pots up. He didn't cover the tops, right, which you're supposed to. So anyway, comes to the show, the other pyro guy couldn't find this first one. It was like, holy shit, the lights had gone down, fucking pyros. So he ran round, filled them up again, blind, just threw a load of pyro powder in, so it had a double dose in. That first explosion is now legendary in New York. It blew a 4-foot hole in the Paramount stage.
Oh.
It shattered the box. I mean, there was fucking sand and bits of wood all over the fucking place. It blew all of Cronos' backline out. The speakers were just hanging in the fucking bass bins.
Holy shit.
And one of the pots had disappeared. It was found in the balcony, in the back wall of the balcony. Wow. It had fucking jettisoned itself into the back wall of the balcony. I was like, holy fucking shit. And then, so the crew had to work all through the night to get everything working. And so on the 24th, I think it was, when we did the second show.
Yeah, Sunday the 24th, yep.
They had this curtain at the front of the stage. I mean, the Paramount's an old theatre, you know. And that first explosion, when it went off, I mean, the amount of dust that came out of the roof and fucking, I mean, we must have killed it. God knows how many pigeons that were up there. You know, there was feathers and all kinds of stuff coming down. And the second night, the explosion went off and the curtain went up, but the curtain was full of holes. So it caught hold of the mic stands and started taking the fucking mic stands up as well. It was like, oh, God, you talk about Spinal Tap. It's like, fuck, you know, when I watch that movie, I look at it and go, oh, my God, yes, yes.
It hits home.
Yes.
It hits home a little bit. You know, I got a picture here because fairly recently I took this picture, and here is the Paramount. The way it sits today, pretty much abandoned, still sitting there.
Oh, look at it, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's one of those things out there, you know, there's always a little chatter that, you know, they're going to resurrect it and this and that. But yeah. I don't see that happening out there. You know?
What a shame. Beautiful theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's safe to say back then, and sort of in this era we're talking about, a lot of those old, classic, beautiful, ornate theaters that were decaying were repurposed, although some momentarily, for music and rock shows and stuff like that. And a lot of them were short-lived, but a lot of these venues like the Paramount or the Calderone here in Long Island, they had a moment where they did a couple of shows and then, you know, that was it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any memories? Was that like the only? Did you cross paths with Metallica a lot back then, or was that just kind of?
Oh
that?
Yeah. No, we did the 2 shows in New York, and then in 1984, I do believe we were the first band to take them to Europe. They did 6 shows in Europe with us. We did a 7th show, which was at Hammersmith Odeon in London, but they didn't join us for that one. But they were on the European run in Europe, yeah. So it was, I think it was Zurich, Paris, Germany, Italy.
Right.
So, yeah. somewhere else and somewhere else. Yeah.
Rob King asked, any stories about Cliff? Any fond memories of Cliff Burton?
Permanently chilled out, if you know what I mean. Definitely, I would have to say, definitely the musician of the band. I would say that, yeah. I think James is the beating heart of the band. You know, he's the most recognizable. You know, Lars is as well, but James definitely. He's, you know, Lars was very loud back in those days, very, very loud. But we got along okay with them. You know, there was never any beef between us. Certainly not with me. And then when I played as Venom Inc, I think it was 2016 or 17, James came to San Francisco to the DNA Lounge to see us. And nice. He was in the balcony headbanging and air guitaring all night. And then he came backstage and we had a good talk. And, you know, but you know, one time that I went to see them at, I got a call off Rob Flynn. And he was like, "Are you coming to the show tonight?" And it was in Newcastle Arena when I was still living in England. Machine Head was supporting Metallica, and he says, "I'll put your name on the door." Boom. So I went down, and then after the show, went down to meet them. And Rob Chirillo had just come into the band, I think, at that point. And again, really nice. You know, the last time I had seen them prior to that was 85. That was the last time they opened up for us in Germany at the Laurelai Festival. And I remember the Laurelai Festival on the banks of the Rhine, beautiful festival. And we were headlining, Metallica were just under us. And I remember standing backstage, you know, all the stage gear on and everything, just waiting to go. And I could hear Metallica. And I'm sure they were playing Seek and Destroy. I think it was. I'm not sure. But anyway, I just remember thinking to myself, these fuckers are going to be huge.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it was at that point that Q Prime Management had just taken over.
Sure.
You know, and I've since spoke to James and I've said, you know, fucking hell, mate, you deserve everything, success.
They worked hard, man. They worked
fucking hard.
They had an incredible work ethic. They did.
Oh yeah,
they've
been through some shit as well. I mean, look, fucking hell. You know, look at that tragedy with Cliff. That could have finished them. You know.
Sure.
But you know, they've worked hard. They've toured their asses off, and you know, they deserve what they've got now. And it's
my experience with them in directing the Alago film and has always been very pleasant. They've always been really James and Lars and Kirk, and they've always been really, really great, really, really kind to me and very helpful when I made the film. So I like those guys a lot. I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, they're nice guys. Yeah.
Somebody asked about this. I know this is sort of a in that same kind of run. You know, later on, a little controversy there, but Black Flag and Venom at City Gardens. You remember this one?
I don't remember much about it, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I don't remember much about that at all.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you know, the only support bands I ever, you know, went out and watched were like Metallica and I watched Slayer in, was it Chicago? It might have been the Aragon Ballroom, I think. But you know, I was always just backstage or whatever, you know. I was always the quiet one. I was never into the sort of, you know, ligging about with people and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Did I know this was recorded in the well, theoretically, was New York a special place for you guys? Did New York resonate at all for Venom? I mean, you guys played some pretty epic shows in those years. Was New York something special?
It was always, it always was, yeah. I mean, I would have to say New York and LA primarily. Although I do remember we were down, where was it, Sacramento, and we renamed it Sacramento, and it was the first time we'd seen like slam dancing in a mosh pit. We'd never seen this before.
Right.
You know? And it just looked like everybody kicked off as soon as we fucking hit the stage. We're like, holy shit. But no, I mean, playing, I think one of my favorite places that I played was probably the Gramercy.
Oh.
I like that. I like that place. And we played a tiny little place called the Kingsland as Venom Inc.
Sure.
And it was tiny, but by God, it went off. It was like
having grown up here, the Gramercy was a movie theater when I was a kid, and we used to go there as kids to see movies. And before here's another one. This is one of the old Rock Hotel shows at the Ritz when it was on 11th Street. 2 nights with Venom, one night with Overkill and Carnivore, another one with Cro-Mags and Voivod. This was a little bit later.
Okay, now. God.
Good stuff. That said, let me take a quick sponsor break. You got a couple minutes if you need to get up. Let me do some sponsor stuff, and we'll be back. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay.
Okay, no problem. I'm just gonna go get dressed.
That's right. Mantas on the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Good to see everybody. It's been a couple of minutes, a week and a half in between shows. Let's do a word from our sponsors, and let's talk about some upcoming shows, and we'll bring our guest back, Black Metal. Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Will that be cash or in debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Yo, what's happening? I'm out here at one of our all-ages Sunday matinees on the Bowery. I hope that you are enjoying today's show. I just want to let you know that the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live needs your support. Please step up. There is a Patreon page that has a lot of unique program. Shows are announced there first. Lots of good stuff. There's a PayPal address right there on the screen if you want to make a contribution. There's also a super chat function. You could do that, but the bottom line is this show exists because of your support. We're going to be doing it for a long, long time. Thank you for all your support through the years. Back to the show.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
All right, we're back. Hey, let's talk about some upcoming shows. This Wednesday, July 9th, Cindy Halfrats from the Lunachicks will be on the show, co-hosted by Lori Dawn. We're going to have a couple of special guests. Week after that, Greg Jacobs will be on, author, talking about his book, Hell on Wheels, tour stories, remembered, remixed, and remastered. Yo, the infamous Tommy Carroll from Straight Ahead, New York City Mayhem and Youth Brigade, co-hosted by Howie Abrams, Sunday, July 20th. Steve Ashim of Deicide, we talked about this earlier. Our friend Joel Gausten is co-hosting that. That's Sunday, July 27th. Wednesday, August 6th, Demi from Astoria, Queens Represent, Crown of Thorns, Still Suit, Scarhead, Homicidal, and Smoke AD. Ian Mackay's brother Alec will be on Wednesday, August 13th, talking about his band Hammered Hulls and DC Hardcore in general. From VOD, Tim Williams on Sunday, August 17th. Johnny Eggs of Sheer Terror, Sunday, August 24th. Yo, something a little bit different here. From the Ataris, Mike Davenport will be on the show Wednesday, September 3rd. So lots going on. Ask Tommy Carroll about the Kirk Hammett incident. We will. We'll get into all that. That said, hey, I want to shout out a new patron, Bad Spomer. Please support the show on Patreon. I know there's a lot of lurkers out there. I know you are lurking. If you're lurking and you enjoy the show, you can come in from the cold. Please join on Patreon, support the show. We're 5 years into it. And the reason that we are able to do this is because of your support, quite simply. So please support the show on Patreon. Thank you, Bad Spammer. People sign up on Patreon and put in the weirdest names. So, look, pay the $5. That's right. Now, also, there is a super chat function. You can ask a question, throw in a couple bucks. It comes through in color. I can't miss it. Also, if you're watching the show on rerun, please subscribe right now, right there, to the Stone Films NYC YouTube page. That's right. Buy the ticket, take the ride. Also, please give the show a thumbs up right now, or a like. Come on, let's get in the algorithm, motherfuckers. So that said, let's clear the deck and let's bring our guest back on from Venom. Hey, man. Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. So let's get on. Enough of all this rock and roll shit. Let's talk about your love for cats. Let's take a side trip here for a second, because I too happen to. I grew up with a lot of cats, and I love cats. And I know you. What's the proper way to say it? Cat sanctuary. I know you're. Tell us about your love for felines.
Ever since being a kid, my mum always had cats, so there's always been cats in the house, and so everywhere I've been, I've had a cat. I'm just a cat person, and it all started here in Portugal when we came out into the garden one morning, and there was this beautiful ragdoll cat just lying on our garden swing, and we're like, well, that's weird, where the hell did that come from? And every morning we went out, she was there. So we started putting a little bit of food and a little bit of water out, and then eventually, like about a month later, we managed to tease her into the house a little bit. So she was the first, and she's about 11 or 12-year-old now. And it just stemmed from there, really. And during the pandemic, when everybody was stuck at home, I built a little shelter in the back garden, because by this time I had 10 of them, You know, we're just, you know, I would be walking down the street and I would see a kitten in the gutter and I would pick it up and stuff it in my jacket and take it home, you know. I've rescued so many of them like that. And we came back off vacation once and there was another 2 kittens in the garden. I think somebody had dumped them, to be perfectly honest.
The word got out there. The word got out there that if there's any strays, just dump them in Jeff's yard.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. Like, so the little sanctuary thing, I mean, it's just grown and grown and grown. I've extended it and built onto it. So I've got 35 of the little fuckers now, you know. And I mean, they drive me crazy sometimes, you know.
Are they in the house or outside?
No. They've got access to a room at the back of the house,
Sure.
and the window is permanently open. And in that room, there's various shelving things and whatnot with their beds and their food and everything.
Sure.
So they can come in out of the cold or out of the heat at the moment. But predominantly they're outside. They've got a little part. It comes out of the window, and then there's like a bridge goes over the garden into like a little, what I call the hotel. And then there's a play area around the corner. There's a tunnel leads to another area. So, you know, and the reason I built it as well is because when I first started taking them in or just feeding them outside, we lost a few on the road. I mean, this is a tiny village, but you get some fucking idiots who go speeding through it. And we had a couple of accidents, let's put it that way. And I thought, you know, just to keep them safe. They've got plenty of room, so don't worry about them. They can run around.
Do they all get along?
Oh yeah. Every now and again you'll hear a little bit of a spat, but nothing serious. I've never seen a full-on cat fight. They're all happy little campers together, you know, one little family. But you know, that's part and parcel of the reason that I do my Patreon, is to support the cats. Because obviously food and cat litter, cleaning products, and you know, all the like veterinary bills if they've got to go to the vet for anything, you know, neutering as well. Because during the pandemic we did have a couple of accidents. We had one of the boys who was booked in to get the snip, and of course everything closed. So there was nothing open, so the vets was closed. I was like, oh right, okay. Next thing I knew, 2 of the females were pregnant, but I thought, hey, you know, it's
population explosion.
But you know, at the end of the day, my responsibility. So you know, I've kept them, because people were saying, oh, are you going to foster them and then rehome them? I was like, I don't trust anybody else to look after them the way I do, so no.
Oh, you got a good heart, my man. So Mike LaRoche is asking, what's the Patreon for the cats?
It's just patreon.com/Jeff Mantas.
Okay.
And on there, it's like €10 a month. And I'm re-recording old Venom songs. I'm doing, me and the Patreons actually have just wrote a song together. You know, I started it off, and then I asked for all their ideas. They've wrote lyrics and stuff, and it's all in there. And it's a bit of a departure. It's a little bit more industrial than what I would normally do, but it's good. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of old Venom footage and history and things like that. There's guitar tuition of the Venom songs. There's all kinds of stuff. I post 5 days a week on Patreon, and it's all like 10, 12-minute videos. So Monday to Friday, it's constant posting. So there's always something there. And there's a bandcamp as well. Bandcamp again, Jeff Mantas. And you can buy all different kinds of music that I've done. I'm releasing guitar instrumentals at the minute, and new music as well. So there's a lot of stuff, and there's a thing, mantas.store, I believe it is, and that's all personally designed t-shirts and things, and all of it, especially the Patreon, but 50% of everything else goes to the cats as well.
Did you see? Have you seen your hardcore trading card?
No.
Check this out. you got a cat on your card, man.
Oh, excellent. That's actually Sharon. That's the one I was talking about. That's
Oh,
the
is that
first
right?
rescue. Yeah, she's the first one. Yeah. Oh, bless her.
This is they're made by Josh Hurst. He says, "I hope you like it, Jeff."
It's excellent. I love it.
Good. Josh, get in touch with Jeff so you could send them. And this is the back of it. Is he does a great job on these, and they're very informative. It helps me when I'm prepping the show. But here's the back of the card, and lots of bands, lots of information. But he says, fun fact. In addition to being a musician, Jeff is also a big animal lover. He currently runs a small cat sanctuary and offers support to his local animal shelter. 25% of anything bought from his website goes directly to helping both his sanctuary and the local shelter.
Oh,
awesome.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I love cats too, man. I live in a small place in New York. We can't have any right now,
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I grew up with the cats and had them when recently. Here's the smartest cat I ever had was this Siamese right here, Omar. This is Omar, incredibly intelligent cat that I had, and he was really smart. And just one other picture that I gotta put out there. We used to put here's Omar with my son when he was a kid. We used to put the harness on him and go outside, and he would take it like a champ. He was a tough Siamese or diabolical. That's the only cats I've ever had of Siamese.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Siamese cats. Anyway,
Yeah.
There you go. So that said, why did I know there was a lot of back and forth, but just I think I'd be amiss not to ask, how did the Venom thing play out for you? How did it kind of come to an end, and how did you move on, and why did you move on to Venom Inc?
Oh, God, it's such an involved story. I mean, my reason for leaving in 1986, I've never actually said, but it was nothing to do with musical differences or finance or anything like that. It was an incident which happened in 85, which was absolutely disgusting. And I just thought, that's it, I'm out of here. It just wasn't about music anymore. It was, I'd had enough. So I ended up, I walked away from Venom into nothing, basically. And at that point I was living with my girlfriend at that time, and we had bills to pay. She was a nurse, and she came in one night and says, there's an application form here if you want this, and it was for an orderly within the operating theatres in the hospital. So I went along for the job. I didn't expect to get it, but I did. And I worked in the operating theatres for 2.5 years. And then the call came to rejoin Venom for the Primeval period. And basically I refused a few times. I was like, no, don't want to do it. Not interested, Eventually persuaded and said yes, did that. That finished, after 3 albums. And it was at that point I was setting up my martial arts gym. So that became my full-time job. Me and my training partner, we set up a full-time gym or dojo in Newcastle city centre, and I ran that for 19 years from that point. That was from 1990 to 2009. Was that right? Yeah. And in that time, I got asked by the old Venom manager if I was doing anything. I was like, no, I'm not interested really, you know. But then I went down to talk to him and ended up doing the album, which became Zero Tolerance. Did a few shows with that. Went to Japan for the first time with it, with that lineup of that band. And then from there, that band just morphed into another band called Drill. And then Drill, we had a charity show that we were asked to do in Newcastle, and it was for a DJ who had passed away, like a metal DJ, and everybody knew this guy. His name was Little Jeff, and we said, "Oh yeah, we'll do it." So we got asked to go and headline this sort of rock club pub thing, and we went along, did it. But at that point, I had a bass player and a drummer who lived in Germany, both German musicians. And the drummer was sessioning for some other band, and he had a bad fall on his way up to the stage at some festival, and broke his arm, so he couldn't do the show. The bass player was also out front sound, and he was going away on tour. So I got a Newcastle-based bass player to fill in, and we got Anton to fill in on drums, who was Conrad's brother, Cronos' brother. And just as things went along, you know, the rumors started, as they always do, you know, like, oh, Mantas and Anton are back together, because we did Resurrection together with Cronos, obviously. And people are saying, oh, I wonder if we're going to do anything. And that sort of morphed again into what became Primeval, then into Empire of Evil. And the original lineup that was put together for Primeval, the idea for that was myself, Anton, and Mike Hickey, who had played on the Calm Before the Storm album, and he replaced me when I left in '86. So there was the three of us doing that, and then it came.
And then Temples of it was in Temples of Ice and Wasteland after that.
No, that was way before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw you play the Dynamo Festival in when was that? 96 maybe? I saw you play the Dynamo Festival. Yeah, that was great. I was over there with the band I was managing called Marauder, and they were so excited to see Venom play, because it was at that point it was like a reunion show. It was a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, there was the reunion in '96. Again, you know, the old wound started opening, and it just didn't last, you know. But
Sure.
we did some good shows, and it was all looking good at that reunion point. The best show we did on the reunion was it was Athens, the Metal Invader concert in '97, I think it was.
They love metal. They love metal in Greece. That's for sure.
Oh God, yeah, it was phenomenal. It was great show.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole Drill thing, like I say, that morphed into Primeval, Empire of Evil, and then myself, Anton, and Mike Hickey had been talking, and it was, you know, we needed a bass player vocalist. So that's when I called Tony and asked him if he wanted to join up with me, and he said yes. So that was it. Then it became Empire of Evil, and that yet again morphed into Venom Inc. And that was that.
Was this around the time you moved to Portugal? Why did you? Portugal seems that you're the first guest, I think, in 400 shows to be in Portugal. So it's unique. Why Portugal? Is it a place you toured? Is it a place you visited?
Yeah, I mean, me and my partner Anita. I mean, we vacationed here quite a few years, and we just fell in love with the place.
Sure.
And you know, it got to the stage where, you know, she's got 4 daughters. I've got 1 daughter. You know, there's grandkids there. Everybody's grown up. They've got their own lives in England now. You know, they're all married, got their kids and stuff. And England was just, I don't know, it just wasn't the same anymore. So we just decided to make the move. And it was Anita that did the research, you know, because, you know, normally you'll get someone from England who, you know, they move to Portugal and they go to the Algarve or something like that. Well, it's just touristy down there, you know. It's lovely, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. And there's some really nice quiet places. But, you know, on the whole, you know, it's a tourist centre. Mm-hmm. So we decided, let's go to what we would class as real Portugal, and which is, you know, we're essentially in a village in a forest, and that's it. And where we are, it's a network of villages connected by single roads until you get on a motorway to go to your local town, and that's it.
Do you speak Portuguese?
I can get by now, but by God, it's a hard language.
It is, really, man. It is a hard language.
Hard language. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was a kid at school, I was pretty well fluent in French. I can't remember a thing about it now, because I never got to use it. And I took German as well, and I can still get by in German a little bit. The Portuguese, you know, it's getting a little bit better, you know, day by day, but it's just finding the time to sit down and actually. The best thing to do is just get out there with the locals and try and talk to them, you know.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I understand, you know, Spanish. So when we went out, knowing the Sepultura guys and touring with Sepultura, those, you know, I can understand just knowing Spanish. I can understand some Portuguese, but it's a tough language. Yeah. It's a tough language.
It is. It's a very hard language. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one. So let's talk about what these days, just musically. I know you have this coming up. I want to tell us about this.
Oh yeah, fucking hell. Well, what happened with that was in 2023, I got invited to Japan to do a couple of shows, and one of them was just a Venom night. The other one was a you know, different thing altogether. But the Venom night was with Japanese black metal musicians, and they all played the Venom songs with me on stage, and it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and there was a tiny little club. But it was packed, absolutely packed full of people, and it went down really well. And I stayed on in Japan for a few days after the show, and I went out with the organizers for a meal, and they said, "Oh, would really like to do what we would call Venom Japan, you know, this lineup, and you know, do maybe a tour." I mean, like a tour of Japan is probably going to be 2 in Tokyo, 1 in Osaka, and Nagoya.
Always, yeah.
Hiroshima, you know, something like that. So you're not going to be out there for like months on end.
Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, you know, something.
Yeah.
That's
about it. So I was like, yeah, I'd love to. So it was planned for 2024, and then obviously I had the second heart attack in 2024.
Right.
So that sort of put the block on fucking everything. And then what happened was they got back in touch this year via a friend of mine who I've known for a long time in Japan. And it was like, well, they really want to do it, you know, so how are you feeling? Are you up to the traveling and doing this?
Sure.
It was like, well, you know, I still need to be getting checked out and stuff like that, but let's have a think about it. So I had to think about it, I had all the checks done and stuff. And then I had a meeting with them. In the meantime, I got a phone call from a mutual friend of mine, an Abaddon's.
Mm.
Can you speak to Abaddon? There's something going on. I was like, oh, what the fuck, you know? And then he said there was this thing which was probably going to go legal and stuff. Now, I hadn't spoke to Abaddon since 2017.
Mm.
So I was like, well, I don't really want to get involved in this. Like, you know, I'm not, oh, God. And I kind of knew what it was going to be about because I had seen something and I looked at it. I'm not going to say, I cannot really say too much about it, but I had seen something And I looked at this thing and I went, that's going to kick off. There's going to be fucking problems there. But it didn't involve me. It didn't involve me at all. So I was thinking, hey, get on with it, boys. Go and kick each other's fucking shins in the playground. It's you know? So
Yeah.
anyway, he says, oh, this mutual friend was like, look, can you talk to him? I was like, oh, right, okay. So we talked, and basically I was asked to be a witness in the court. Then I spoke to the lawyer who was handling the case. Then it went to barristers. And I mean, this wasn't some little small claims court or anything like that. This was Royal High Court in London. You know,
The big stage, the main stage. The main stage. Yeah.
But it was, you know, so, you know, there's a few people, or there's a few individuals that'll be going, oh, this was all planned and stuff like that. No, it fucking wasn't. There was nothing, none of this has been planned at all. Everything's just dropped in, and I went, what? I don't know. But like I say, I spoke to the lawyer, and it was when I heard the other side's claims that I was just like, what? This is, it was outrageous. It was outrageous. So I was asked to make a statement. So I made a first statement. Then a statement came back from the other side. I read that. I was like, wow. So I was asked to make a second statement, and it says, look, if it goes that far, you will have to appear in court. So I was like, brilliant. Excellent. So, but like I say, I was just going to be a witness. And all I was doing was going in there and telling the truth as I know it, as the founder member of the band.
Sure.
And that was it. That was my job, just to go in there and just say, right, no, that didn't happen. This happened. Blah, blah, blah.
Under oath. Under oath.
Under
right?
oath, yeah. I had to raise the hand with the card and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, had
The
to
whole
do the whole
nine.
thing. So I agreed to do it. So they flew me in. I wasn't even in London for 24 hours. They flew me in. I spent the night in an Airbnb with everybody. We talked about the case the following morning, went and did the case, left straight after the case. That was it. I was back in Portugal at like 11 o'clock the following night. Now, in between all that, then another friend had called. What are you doing? I was like, nothing. It's like, so what are you doing musically? I was like, well, not a great deal. I'm just releasing some music and recording and stuff like that, you know. Okay, I've got a crazy idea. And when he said that, I went, yeah, what fucking Venom reunion? And he went and he said, well, you know, no chance. No fucking chance. Now, before we went to the court, the actual lawyers had been talking about this, put it, you know, it was put out there. And basically, you know, all I said was, look, I'm willing to talk, but that's it. It's like, that's as far as it goes. I'll talk about it, and if it's at all possible, then maybe. It's still not a definitely, you know? Cut a long story short, there was a refusal, not worth the time. And then in court on the day, I just went, bridges are burnt, cinders in a box, buried. Fuck it. No, not at all. No. So then, speaking to the Japanese, and I agreed to do the show, which is going to be in November. And I thought, oh, you know what it is, because there is something now, right now, in the stages of getting planned for next year, right? Which I cannot say fuck all about, so I'd say I'm going to shut my mouth. But speaking to the Japanese, I said to them, how would you feel if Abaddon was to come? If boom, it was like, yeah, oh, that would be great. Could you get him? It was like, Well, yeah. And so he's going to come over to Japan. I'm doing the main set with the Japanese musicians. And then he's going to come on for 3 songs in the encore. And that's it. And, you know, we've obviously, with the court case and all this kind of stuff, then, you know, we've had a few conversations, and it's just like, yeah, come on. Then, you know, everybody else just does what the fuck they want with the Venom name. I'm the fucking founder member. It's like, I've never done anything with it. It's like, so, you know, and, you know, this band has missed every anniversary opportunity that it's had. And it deserves to be celebrated at some point. So that's basically what I'm planning. Yeah, I'm gonna.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, with these sort of golden anniversaries, silver, and these incredible milestones coming up, and people would love to see it. You know,
mm-hmm.
People want to.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, you know, even when it comes down to, you know, there's something strange about being a musician and being in the music industry. You know, it's like, you know, if by some bloody miracle that the original lineup of Venom had come back together, you would have a lot of people going, yeah, fucking brilliant. You would also get a lot of people going, no, yeah, they're only doing it for the money and all this. Like, right. You know, obviously people are going to jump straight on that. Sure. Here's a point. And here's a point I'd just like to put out there. It's 45 years anniversary for the band next year. Right? Now, in the United Kingdom, if you buy a house, you take, well, at least when I was living there, you used to take a 25-year mortgage on that house. So let's say we've had that house for 45 years. It's an investment. It's a commodity. So after 25 years, you're mortgage free. So after 45 years, you might think, you know what it is? I'm nearly retiring age. Why don't I just sell this house, downsize, put all the money in the bank and live nice and comfortable? Everybody who knows you would go, hey, well done, what an investment, great. That is what Venom is to me. It's my commodity, it's my investment. It's the time that I put in that I didn't get any reward for, you know? So, I mean, it's not going to be the original lineup. So anybody's out there, you know, oh, and I've seen loads of things since that poster went up, you know, it's like, oh, get Cronos. It's like, I've got to say this. It's like, you know, think of the most toxic relationship you've ever had and just invite it back into your life. It's not that, honestly, guys, it's not that easy. You know, this, and what I seen a couple of weeks ago, I just went, oh, no, I can't do that again. No. You know, I mean, fucking hell. I'm 64 years old. I've had 2 fucking heart attacks. The first one killed me for 5 minutes. It's like, I don't need that stress in my life anymore.
Sure.
Simple.
There comes a certain point where, and I can relate because I have one of those scars too.
Oh wow!
I have one of those scars also. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I have that same I have that same scar.
Yeah. And
there's come a certain point in my life where I just don't go there with certain people and certain things. It's just not worth it to me. I just don't care anymore. You know?
No.
I want to live a simple, uncluttered, enjoyable life. That's what I want.
Yeah. So do I. I mean, you know, I'll be brutally honest and say that I do miss performing live on stage. You know, and I'm looking forward to Japan.
Yeah.
But I don't miss the bullshit that goes with it all. You know, the endless traveling. I mean, you know, with the traveling side of it, I've been lucky in my career that I've seen both sides of it. You know, I've done the limousines and the private jet, but I've also done the back of the van and sleeping in the venue and all that kind of shit.
Right.
So, you know, and I tell you what, give me the fucking limousine and the private jet any day, you know? And, you know, it's what I've always said, you know, when people say like, oh, wow, look at those guys, they're in their 70s and they're still going out and doing it. It's like, yes, because they've got a fucking crew that look after them. They've got beautiful hotels, that everything is basically sorted for them so they can concentrate on their job, which is walking on stage and delivering the best performance they can. And that's it.
That came up actually when I was talking to someone about ELO this morning, and I said, of course, ELO. I mean, at this point, between pre-recorded music and video screens and staying in 5-star hotels, you know, it's a lot easier for a guy like Jeff Lynne to do it at his age. But when you're out there and you're grinding, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Oh, it's a fucking young man's game.
Yeah,
you know, when you're out there and you're slogging it, that's a young man. I mean, yeah, I remember I think it was 2019. I mean, I had the heart attack in 2018, and 10 weeks after open heart surgery, I was back on stage, which was fucking stupid, you know. Right. I'm not after any fucking macho points for that. It was stupidity. Yeah. But then we went to South America for 5.5 weeks, South, Central, and into Mexico, and we did 33 flights in 5.5 weeks.
Oh my, that's a lot.
Some of those flights were 2 flights a day, and then straight to the venue. Didn't even see the fucking hotel. You know, so doing stuff like that, I mean, that was exhausting. And, if you're a young guy, it's an adventure.
It reminds me of that scene in The Last Waltz when Robbie Robertson from the band says, you know, the road will kill you. You know, It's just, the road will kill you. It's just, and I always use that line, even in my sort of, you know, world. You know, the road will kill you just lose things. It just grinds it. The road will kill you, man. It's tough.
I mean, the other thing I said is like, people say like, oh, it must be really good going away. So, you know, it's like, no, it takes a special kind of stupid to do what I do.
Sure. You know? Well, it takes an inherent love of music too. You know.
That's it. At the end of the day, it's, for me, it's about the music, and it's about the connection with the fans, and you know, you feed off the energy when you're on stage. You know, it's what they give you give back. You know.
Yeah. Let me take a quick sponsor break, and let's come back and we'll take some questions from around the world. Okay. This will be a quick one. See you in a minute.
Okay.
That's right. Questions from around the world. Post them up. Go big. Get weird. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. We are sponsored by blah, 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 and 126 Hardcore Clothing. They're a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them. Ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. Last but certainly not least, Candle Witch Co. is a female-owned entrepreneur business based out of Connecticut. Owner Rachel King Key's handcraft soil wax candles set with intentions for your sanctuaries. She has accomplished a life goal dream since beauty school, debuting her artist showcase Hotties and Hellions that features live bands, burlesque, sideshow acts, vendors, food trucks, and this year a live auction with all proceeds going to the mental health program Punk Rock Saves Lives. Catch her in the tri-state area doing her thing, slinging candles at events. Fucking love these candles. You come to my place, smell these candles. Catch her in the tri-state area doing her thing, slinging candles at events, and keep an eye out for her show coming to New York in the spring of 2026. You can find her on Etsy and on Instagram at Candle Witch Co. Hey, want to mention some upcoming events. This weekend, we are back at the Barry Electric for a all-ages Sunday matinee, free Fury of 5, Shoot the 5, The Long Wait, featuring Jamie Sharappa of SSD Control, Steve Verstein and Mark McKay of Slapshot, Jerry Body, and Fug It. That is, and Fug It. Sunday, July 13th, that is this Sunday. Saturday, July 19th, another free show out in Staten Island at Mother Pugs, which is currently owned and operated by Johnny Eggs of Sheer Terror, Stigma, Incendiary Device, Mutant, The Blame, Sling Blades, and Idiot Box. Crazy Eddie's last show is at the Barry Electric, free all ages, Sunday, August 3rd with Brass Knuckle Brigade, the return of Enziguri, 4 in the Chamber, and Go to Ments. We're going to be out in Pennsylvania playing the Upstage Music Festival with E-Town Concrete, Sworn Enemy, and a couple others. That's August 9th. Come on out if you're in that area, not too far from Pittsburgh. We are looking forward to driving 7 hours out to play this festival. Sunday, August 31st, at the Barry Electric, Demise, Nailed to the Cross, Cropsey, Jackknife Johnny, Concrete Burial, Sid the Kid, 24/7 Spies. Sunday, September 14th. ID is headlining the Bowery Electric with non-residents in Overstand. Sunday, August 12th. Good Lord. We're going to be out in San Francisco playing Crash Fest with GBH. If you are out in the Bay Area, we're playing Saturday, October 18th. And finally, the Holiday Slamboree on Sunday, December 14th, brought to you by Women of the Pit. It is the return of My War. It is the Women of the Pit coat drive and much, much, much more. Questions for our guest. Post them up. Go deep. Get weird. Paul Stone, I'm going to bring you on in a minute. Just want to thank everybody. Also, anybody who's sort of on the precipice about joining Patreon, please go through with it. The show needs your support. www.patreon.com/Drew Stone. There's also a PayPal address there if you want to make a donation. Support the show that supports you. That said, let us bring our guest back on. Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
Let's see. Hey, let's bring our other friend on for a minute, Paul Stone. What's up, man?
Good evening. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Paul. How are you?
Living the dream, usual. I went to see Slayer in Cardiff on free tickets on Thursday. Drummer out of Mastodon is an absolute fucking insane beast. I don't think I've seen anyone play. His hands are just like fucking fire. Unbelievable.
Thank you. Thanks for hooking us up. Thanks for introducing Jeff with the show. For the show. Anything you want to ask Jeff? Any perspective you can lend us?
Yeah, I've spoken to him a bunch of times, but I never really asked him what drew him towards the guitars that he plays. He's got some really nice guitars. He's abused a few, it has to be said, but he's got some really nice guitars. I want to know, hey, what's his favourite and what draws him to the guitars he plays for a start?
For a long time I was using Ibanez and Jackson as well. I've still got a Jackson over there, and I've got an Ibanez in the cupboard. But I came back from one of the Empire things that we did, and we were out with Onslaught, and the bass player at the time, Jeff Williams, he was like an artist relations guy for Comparison Guitars. And he said, have you ever thought of Comparison? I was like, well, I've never really heard of them, So anyway, he said, I'll have a word. So next thing I know, I get an email saying, oh, they'd like to send us a one. And I'm like, right. I says, and I do remember saying, but, if I don't like it, I'm not gonna use it. I'm not just gonna take a free guitar for, just for the sake of it. And they were like, oh, understand, So they sent me this guitar anyway. And the one that they sent me, it's within arm's reach. So is that one. And this is actually the prototype. It's still got prototype stamped it's a bit worn now, but it's still got prototype stamped in the back of the neck. So it's a one of a kind, this one. But it's a prototype of the Angelus series. And I still use it for recording. It was out on tour. You can see it's dinged on the bottom there. That was courtesy of an airline. And I've had to sand it down. It was a bit sharp. EMGs, 81, 85.
What does the headstock look like?
The headstock, this is the old style headstock. This one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, so you've got that one. Then I see. What was that? Sorry, I see you've put a picture of the white one. That one's over
the white one. The white one's nice, man.
That's the Orbit. It's a nice guitar, but I find it a little bit too big for me. But the one that I play all the time live now, I've got a red Angelus as well. That needs a bit of TLC at the minute. But the last time I was in Japan in 2023, Comparison are based in Osaka, and they're all sort of boutique handmade instruments. And I contacted Comparison, and I was just saying, is there any chance I could borrow a one to save me taking mine over there? And they were like, well, we don't really do that, but you know, you're due a new one, so what would you like? I was like, oh, well, I'm not asking for one, but they went, no, look, you're a great ambassador for the brand. We'll send you the new Angelus. And that's what they sent me. That was delivered in Tokyo.
Wow, that's nice.
Maple neck, same kind of headstock. It's got Fishman Fluence pickups, Floyd Rose, and it's a beautiful guitar, absolutely gorgeous, and they're about the weight of a Les Paul as well.
Another fairly beastie. That thing you were playing at Bloodstock a few years back when we were talking, when you did the black metal set with Nick Barker playing drums, that was the red one, I think, and that's a really nice guitar. That was a great set.
The red one's in the case at the minute. It needs some work doing on it. I think it's the toggle switch. It was getting very intermittent at one point. It's probably just all sweat and crap. I mean, it's beaten. That red one's beaten to fuck now. Absolutely beaten up. But the red one never let me down at all. So I've sort of semi-retired it before it started getting too bad. It just needs looking at, you know.
They are tools, but we love them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one, wait, I got a picture of that. The red one's damn nice.
Really nice.
Yeah, here you go. This one, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I'll get her out. Wait a minute, just 2 seconds.
Yeah, I like the finish. That's beautiful. You know,
a really nice top on it. That thing, actually, I had a really good skeg at it at Bloodstock a while back, and I'm like, I've never seen one before. It's a really nice piece of kit.
Oh, there it is. Is that one retired, Jeff?
So it's sort of semi-retired at the minute. I mean, it's it's got all a belt rash on the back and everything. But I think its electrical problem is this. I think it's the toggle switch.
Yeah.
I fitted a new one, but I'm not getting much signal through it. So I think it just needs looking at. But this is the same EMG's 81, 85. But I mean, even the bridge and the tailpiece, I mean, it's just sweat worn. It's like absolutely battered.
It's seen some miles.
Oh yeah, this has been everywhere with me. I mean, China, Japan, Australia. It's been everywhere. And
question, Jeff, do you still have any of your Ibanez's?
I've got one. Let's have a look. It's got no.
You asked. We'll see.
Oh, it's all right.
To be honest, it's nice to know that Jeff plays the same shit all that I've got. You know what I mean?
To the New York Hardcore Chronicles live guitar show and tell, starring Jeff Mantas Dunn from Venom. Stand by. Yeah.
This is the
only. I'm looking at Jeff's room. He's got the same sort of shithole style that I've got going on in my place.
Yeah. That's the only Ibanez I have left now.
Wow.
That one. And I just stripped this down and painted it myself and whatnot. But that's, again, 81, 85 EMG.
A relic of the past.
And it's an old RG from years and years ago.
To be honest, if anyone who's seen any Venom videos knows that most of those Ibanezes were getting bounced off the floor more times than were getting played most of the time.
Oh yeah.
Well, they were getting some abuse.
I think this one used to be blue, and like I say, it was bounced around that much. I thought, well, I might as well just take all the paint off now. So, but,
hey, I got a good question, Jeff. This is from our good friend and sponsor, Mark Yoshi down at Generation Records. He says, was Newcastle as rough as it was portrayed in Get Carter? Venom always seemed, quote, more street than most of the other metal bands, which I always attributed to being from Newcastle.
I think I can answer that, to be honest. The first time I played Newcastle, I played the Broken Doll And I know Jeff will know the Broken Doll straight away. But the landlady at the Broken Doll had 3 teeth, and none of them belonged in her own mouth. It was an unbelievable fucking place.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, your take on it?
Well, let's put it this way: if you've seen a dog with a tail, it was a fucking tourist. So it's like, it had its rough areas and everything like that. But I mean, I was born and bred in Newcastle, and it did change over the years. The youth changed. That's what changed more than anything. As the parents became younger and younger and younger, their kids became more and more feral. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
But I mean, Newcastle still is one of the friendliest places on the planet. It really is. But it's the same as anywhere else. There's areas you don't go.
Sure.
Even living in Portugal. I mean, where I live, it's no problem at all. Nothing. You never even see the police around here. But there's areas in Lisbon where you wouldn't even go.
Sure.
So I think everywhere in the world's got its no-go areas. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is a hard industrial town though, Newcastle. It really is.
Yeah. Here's another. I like this one because we really didn't touch on this, which is interesting. Was there any punk influences in Venom, or let me expound on that a little bit? In early Venom, were there any like sort of punk bands that you were akin with, or that you felt any sort of camaraderie with?
Not from my side, no. I was always just metal. I was just metal. I think the closest I would come to anything like that is when I was talking to you before about Motorhead.
Yeah.
I think Motorhead were probably the first band that had that sort of crossover appeal. But definitely, I was aware of the punk movement, but I was never into it. You
were a metal guy.
I was just metal. Yeah, that was it. Metal. Through and through.
Michael LaRose asks. I was going to say, but back in the day, because I'm like sort of 5-10 years younger than Jeff and Tony, but I know Tony's a bit more aware of the punk scene than always was. Just I spent more time with him really. But I know, like, if you listen to Venom and then you listen to Discharge, you can see there's a link without either band knowing it. Just the way that, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that you guys were playing detuned purely because you didn't have a tuner. So you tuned by ear and it sounded about right. It turned out you were playing like 2 down, and that's how. And Discharge is exactly the same thing. You were playing with shit gear and down tuned by accident because it sounded heavier, but it sounded in tune.
Yeah. And that was exactly it. We didn't know what we were in. And in fact, when we went in to record Welcome to Hell, I think we tuned up to League with Satan, the single, and well, that was it. I think there was more than the music side. There was more of the attitude, the punk attitude that we had. But I mean, Hammersmith 1984, that show, which is now fucking legendary apparently. I mean, there was a lot of punks at that show. There was running on stage and saying a lot of more heat.
Yeah, I mean, I know sort of back then you would see kids were like a Motorhead shirt and a painted leather jacket. It'd be like GBH, Discharge, fucking Metallica, and Venom were all on the same jacket. And you see kids with mohawks, kids with fucking dreadlocks, kids with fucking spiked hair, kids with no hair, and like metal kids all wearing the same shirts and stuff. That's how it went. The crossover sort of started with people like fucking me and fucking Dave Grohl and all those sort of people at our age listening to Venom and listening to Motorhead and Metallica. Metallica spent half their lives wearing Venom t-shirts before Misfits were a thing. Like fucking Mustaine's got a Venom t-shirt on. Hetfield's got a Venom t-shirt.
We lost Jeff for a minute. Hopefully he signs.
Yeah, I thought he'd frozen up there a little bit.
I gotta.
But I stand by that crossover thing totally. Mm-hmm. Cronos is one of my best fucking friends, and we've talked about it a lot. And the crossover with Chris Cronos.
Oh, Contos. Oh, he just showed
Yeah,
up.
I've known Contos from time.
Yeah.
But we were all listening to the same
There he
stuff.
is.
But
Yeah.
Venom and Discharge and Motorhead, pretty much everyone ticks that box. Everybody. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember Discharge was huge, man. I remember in when they in 1981, we liked Discharge, and we were hardcore kids.
Yeah.
You know, like Discharge. That Y record was big. It was a big one.
Yeah. Why Fight Back? Those records are just.
Well, and the band SSD Control got their name from Discharge, right?
Yeah.
So,
How deep does it go? You know what I mean? I love his Discharge in rest his soul. Absolutely loved it. I talked to Al online a bunch of times, and he told me that's where the name came from. I had no idea until 3 or 4 years ago. But I'm like, what? Really? Okay then.
yeah.
Purely off of that.
Well, I'm hoping that Jeff signs back on, or that could be that. But we did get a lot out of him, you know.
Yeah. He'll be back in a minute. Contact my man. I love you to
What's up,
to the very
Contos?
bones.
Isn't Forbidden playing?
Yeah, I'm going to see Chris in about 4
they-
weeks down in London and Manchester.
Yeah.
They're coming over for some festivals.
Yeah, Paul's correct. Venom, Motorhead, and Tank are crossover. You know, this is what I was talking about this the other day. Some bands were crossover like Venom, Motorhead, and Tank, but they're like more coming over. They're like in the metal camp, and they sort of crossed over a little bit. Then you have bands that are in the hardcore camp that like Agnostic Front or even Leeway or whatever, but they're hardcore and they crossed over kind of into the metal thing. So interesting that came up. We lost Jeff is what happened. So we'll see if he signs back on. If he doesn't, that's the show. Now is it? You know what's fucked? David Plastic, our good friend in Vegas, who I went to junior high school with, during this show, sent me this incredible picture. Look at this. I don't think Jeff's ever seen this. Look at this. It's Jeff, Kirk Hammett, Cronos, Lars, and Abaddon.
I think that's at Laurelai. No, that Jeff was talking about before. I think that's where that was.
Where?
Laurelai Festival in Germany.
Could be.
It's like it's on the banks of the Rhine, and the Rhine goes in like a horseshoe, and where the festival amphitheater is like on like a big hill above the river. I've seen a bunch of videos from there. There's a really famous Killing Joke video from there, and Marillion recorded there. I think there's certainly a big video from that gig. But I think that was it for.
That makes sense. People are bringing up DRI. Of course, DRI as well.
Absolutely.
DRI played it kind of right down the middle because first time I saw DRI, I saw their first New York show. They were a hardcore band, and their set list was like 35 songs. You know, Suicidal Tendencies was a hardcore band, but you know, Suicidal Tendencies pulled off the crossover thing in my opinion, very well. They were fantastic. You know,
you were saying about Leeway. I think Leeway were a hardcore band in name, but the music's way more metal. Porky's a metal drummer all day. Porky's a fucking an amazing drummer. But the two guitar players, like Crumbsuckers as well. The guitar players in Crumbsuckers are fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. David Plastic said that shot of them was from Paris, France, the Breaking Sound Festival.
It was the same couple of gigs though, so same six shows. I think he said Metallica played 6 out of the 7 Dates of Hell, and the one in London, I think Exodus played.
Yeah. So all right, well, I guess that's that. I hope you enjoyed having Mantas on. We had him for 2 hours. It was pretty great.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was great, man. I'd like to say goodbye, but you know, shit happens in the big leagues. Paul, thanks for hooking me up. Yeah, you're a great ally to the show, and I appreciate it, man.
Brother from another, my man. Brother from another.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Love to the people and Contos. I'll see you fucking soon.
All right.
Love you fucking bones.
There you go. Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Hey, you know what? A couple of other things that we didn't get to post up. Here's an interesting picture I found in the archive from way back in the day as we were talking about the Black Sabbath stuff. Here's Sharon Osbourne, me, and Gloria Butler, Geezer's wife, back in the early days of the Ozfest. Biohazard played some of those early shows in Fear Factory, and we did hang out together in those early Ozfest days. So that was pretty fantastic. Thank you, John. Kantos, good to see you. Just want to give a heads up to everybody that this Sunday, actually this Wednesday, we will be back here in a couple days. This Wednesday, we got Cindy coming on, along with Lori Dawn co-hosting. A week from today, there will not be a show because we will be at the Bowery Electric doing the Fury of 5 show. But a week from Wednesday, we will be back with Greg Jacobs. So thank you, everyone. That was a fantastic show. Mantas, I want to thank you for coming on. Sorry we didn't get a chance to formally wrap it up, but that was great. Interesting band, Venom. You know what's interesting on this show? We had Abaddon on the show, and I sort of do all this homework and get acclimated to a band. We hear from Abaddon, and then somebody else from the band comes on, and you sort of get a different perspective on things. That's happened a lot on this show. You know, we had some bands, we've had every member on the show, every member. So some bands, not so much, but yeah. Speaking of, here's another one. Speaking of suicidal, our friend, we were hanging out in Vegas when we played punk rock bowling with our friend Louie from Lewicidal. Of course, the original Suicidal bass player. There's me and Tristan, and Lewicidal's going out on tour. And there's some talk of Incendiary Device playing some shows with Lewicidal. So, Drew, you rule, and continue all your great work and shows. You can bank on that, brother. I'm not going anywhere. I'm doing what I love doing. You guys are supporting the show. I have a nice life, and I'm appreciative for all your support, everybody. So thank you all so much. This show brings me much joy and brings a lot of people a lot of joy. So we're happy for that. We need Conrad on the show. We do, don't we? I gotta get in touch with Cronos, man. Where's Cronos? Where's Cronos at? Excuse me, but Cronos seems to be the difficult one of the bunch. Just saying, Tony Iommi. Yeah, we need Tony Iommi on the show. The 400 show's coming up, and rest assured, we're running down a couple big names for that one, So, Luizo, great show today, and keep it up, Drew. Well, thank you, Luizo. Thank you. Gabriel, that will be fun. Yeah, we're in the business of fun. Greg Ginn, I'd love to have Greg Ginn on the show. I've never reached out to him. You know who I did just reach out to? I don't even want to say it because if I land one of these guys for the 400 show, I want it to be like a great surprise. Greg Hedson's been on the show, bro. We had Greg Hedson, but we have not had Greg Ginn. James Hetfield. James Hetfield has not done the show. Love to have James Hetfield. Listen, bro, where you living, bro? Do you pay attention to any of this stuff? No, we got Steve from Deicide coming on the show, like in a couple weeks. So, yeah, we need a Bane guy. We need a Bane guy on the show. I agree with you on that. James or Kirk would be amazing. Sure. Listen, the Metallica guys are very, very, very hard to get to. They're very insulated with management, and they're very hard to get to, So that said, Blondie. Is Blondie a person Or is Blondie a band? I'm confused. When you say Blondie, do you mean the band Blondie? Because there is not a person named Blondie. And there's also not a person named Jethro Tull. So when you Gary Holt's done the show, Contos, but we should get Gary back on. Henry Rollins, you think? Adam Ant, good one. I don't think Adam Ant does stuff like this. Keith Morris or Mike Muir, you think? Pat Benatar, I wish. Warped Tour Owen, Kevin, yeah. What's his name? Kevin Lyons, right? Kevin Lyons? Is that right? Good suggestions, everybody. Good suggestions. You know? Your suggestions directly. Listen, we got Cindy, Greg, Tommy, Steve, Deemy, Alec, Tim, Johnny, and Mike coming up. Hold your horses. All right? There you go. Trent Reznor would be awesome. You think? Sure. We just had one of the DRI guys on. Anyway, Bob Mould. Good suggestions. You know, I talked to Lou Kohler, and Lou Kohler knows the door's always open to come on the show. Lou knows that. We'll get Lou. We'll get Lou on. Crow says, I grew up on Metallica, but I hate the new stuff. I'm more into black metal, behemoth, necrophobic. Acode? Am I pronouncing that right? Acode? But I love all metal, and I do mature death and black metal vocals. Okay. Okay. Listen, we'll have anybody on. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. We'll have you slap happy grandpappy on this show. We're all about music. We don't give a fuck about genres and borders. We love all music. We love everybody. Just don't come on here with politics or any of that shit, because we have no patience for that. You know. Al Jorgensen's a trip. I'm friends with Al. I like Al. Al's a handful, you know. Al's a handful. Yeah, Thurston Moore was great, you know. Oh, they're a French band. Okay. Yep. Brian Matson, what's up, bro? Mimi, Leia, and Mimi. You want to know a little secret? Would you like to know a secret? Mimi Fuggett's a special guest for the next show. Mimi Fuggett is this Wednesday's special guest. So tune in if you want to see Mimi Fuggett. Animal from Anti-Nowhere League. Good one. So what? And I fucked this. I even fucked the schoolgirl's cat. So what? Yeah, good one. That's right, Lori Dawn. Hey, by the way, Laura, you're hosting Wednesday. You're co-hosting Wednesday's show. So come on now. We had what's his name from Helmet on? Dude from Helmet. What's his name? Sorry. Peter and the Test Tube Babies. I've been cheated tonight. Transvestite. Is this some kind of bloke? Is this some kind of joke? You really a bloke? Bloke. You really a bloke? I've been cheated tonight. Transvestite. Woo. Charlie Harper. Hell yeah. There you go. That said, all right. Anvil, good one. Is that right? Love the Long Beach. Yeah, somebody caught it. Is that right? Love the Long Beach United boxing shirt. There you go. Long Beach United Boxing Club. There you go. Yo, Paul Stone, man. Yo, Paul Stone, get Charlie Harper on this show, all right? Come on now. You're on mute. You're muted. Make it happen, Stoney. Paul Stone is the connection to these UK guys, you know. No, we haven't had Morat on the show, but Morat, you know, books the Punk Rock Museum tours, and that's how I just ended up doing the tour, hosting a tour. He's the coordinator at the Punk Rock Museum. Yeah. Peter Gabriel, Steve Hackett, Genesis, Phil Collins, Josh Freese, good one, Rich. Rich Zoller. Break out the Ouija board and get Wendy O. Williams on. Go deep or get weird. Okay. Are you back? I can't hear you. You got to sign off and sign on. How's my dad doing? Thanks for asking. My dad just turned 92. He's in an assisted living facility. He's hanging in there. We're going to go down and visit him. But Arnie Stone's 92. We got to get Arnie Stone back on the show. I mean, some of these rock guys are cool, but they pale in comparison to Arnie Stone. You know? Yeah, Ian was on. Are you talking about Ian Mackay? Ian was on, and we got Ian's brother. Ian's brother's coming on. We got Alec Mackay. Alec Mackay's coming on pretty soon. Yeah. Yo, you know who Arnie Stone is a big fan of? This is kind of wild. You know what? I should get Arnie Stone on the show to talk about Turnstile. My dad's 92. His favorite band right now is Turnstile. Go figure. Loves Turnstile. You know what I should do? I should get Arnie on. We should do a Turnstile show. Even if we can't get any of the guys, we should just get like a Turnstile appreciation show. You know. Tommy Victor, we did Tommy Victor. We love Tommy Victor. We did the show with him a while ago. Hold on. You there?
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
See? Yeah, we gotta get Charlie Harper, man. That's a must.
Right, let me do some phone calls. I can probably do that. Trying to get Captain Sensible.
I just saw the Damned play in Vegas at Punk Rock Bowling. I saw the Damned play in direct sunlight, bro. It was like in the direct sunlight. Let me see.
No, Dave's gonna catch fire. You can't do that. No.
Yeah, it was intense, man.
No, one of my really good mates has been Sensible's guitar tech for years. Sean did guitar tech for me in my little industrial band. So I've got some contacts there. We try.
You know what we learned on this trip? We were staying at the Grand, and we were in the restaurant. Me and Rochelle and Tristan and Tristan's gal, and this sort of. I'm looking, I see Rochelle, this guy is sort of walking through the restaurant and makes eye contact with my wife and walks past. And she goes, I think that was just Dave Vanian. And we look back, we were like, oh shit. I mean, they're staying in the hotel. They're walking around the hotel. And then the day that they played, we saw the band meet up in the lobby of the hotel. And I must say, I do have a belief that the guys in the Damned really, really love each other and really like they're friends, man. And you don't see that in every band. The guys in the Damned really enjoy each other's company.
Yep. My mate Pinch played drums for English Dogs and was in the Damned for about 15 years. And I know, they were a really tight-knit little scene. Sean's been their guitar tech for years and years.
Yeah.
Good people. Yep. Really good people.
Yeah, they were great. And then Tristan was wearing a Damned vest, and he got them to sign it, and they were all very, very kind. And then they played the big show, and we were right there, and they were fantastic. They were fantastic.
I'll tell you a cool Damned story. When my old band Keystone Strike played Rebellion Festival, the Damned were headlining one of the main stages. And because you're on your festival, you've got AAA passes, you do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So we're drinking beers and hanging out backstage. And we watched the Damned from the side of the stage with me and the guys in the band and a bunch of other people. It's a big stage. And I think they played Neat, Neat, Neat. And I just looked over at Pinch, who I've known since I was like 15. And I nodded at Pinch and like, watch this. So he's playing like, what? So I fucking dived past Sensible, tapped him on the shoulder, and then did a fucking somersault stage dive at Rebellion. It's like Rebellion's like a trad punk festival, really. So like stage diving, not really a thing. And Sensible just sort of like shrank, like this little guy. What? And then I went fucking did the somersault into the pit, and then came backstage after the gig. And Sensible came up to me backstage and gave me a beer and went, "You fucking terrified me, you're a fucking giant, you overboo cunt." It's like, instead I looked up and it was dark and it was you blocking all the fucking stairs lights. How big are you on that? I'm 6'4". What do you want?
There you go. All right, listen, I'm
Good time,
hungry.
man.
I'll talk to you later, Stoney.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll make some phone calls with sorts of stuff.
We'll
Cheers,
talk
my man.
soon. Cheers. Danny Cole says, my son's band, they all hate their drum. Let me tell you something about playing music. And all I have is my perspective in this, right? I'm in a band. I love the guys in my band. And it's taken many, many, many years. I'm in a band where actually, like, I fucking love the guys in my band. And we have a good time together, and we laugh, and we play music. And enough people, like, love our music and our band that make it, like, worth doing. And I enjoy it. It's great when you're in a band with guys that you actually I've been around a lot of bands, and a lot of guys don't care for each other. I'm really fortunate to be in a band where we, love each other. So there you go. That said, hey, good show. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much. Hope to see you on Wednesday, maybe down at the Bowery Electric. This was the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Always macking, never lacking, and constantly, you know what's slapping. Until next time, do good things, and good things will come to you.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty.